ਐਂਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਵੋਟ ਐਫਰਟ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਟੀਮ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਜਸਲੀਨ ਕੌਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਨ। ਜਸਲੀਨ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਵਾਗਤ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। Thank you so much for having me, Shita.
Such a pleasure, Jisleen. It's so good to see you in this capacity. You know, our viewers are used to seeing you in a little bit of a different light. So first of all, congratulations on the work that you're doing with SALDEF, you know, such an important organization for the Sikh community in the United States. I'd love for you to give us a little bit of some of the other stuff you've done as far as politics, local politics, and community activism is concerned, and what you're doing now at SALDEF.
It's been an incredible transition from running for office, and I feel really proud to have had the opportunity to run for my community. And it's been really great to still stay involved and, you know, advocate for immigrants in our neighborhood and ensure that our taxi drivers are still getting the relief that they need by working closely with the New York Taxi Workers Alliance, which has just been some of the most fulfilling work that I've been able to do. But I have recently joined SALDEF, as you mentioned, as their senior manager of community and civic engagement. And so while I ran for office before, now I get to work with community members, Sikh Americans across the country, to encourage them to vote, to be involved locally in their communities, and ensure that the Sikh, you know, voice is heard nationally and not just in New York. So it's very fulfilling in that same way too.
I mean, I can't think of a better transition, taking the experience you've gained from the ground level and taking it to the national stage, once again, with an organization like SALDEF that's doing amazing work, both at the local as well as the national level. So, you know, this week, obviously, everyone's been talking about this huge debate. There has been an unprecedented, and I'm getting sick of using this word, honestly. I think all news outlets are, but this unprecedented turn of events in this year's election with the new candidate on the Democratic ticket. But it's really energized the party and energized the race. However, that energy sometimes isn't felt within our community, within the Sikh community. So I'm really, really glad that SALDEF, and particularly you're joining us today to talk about some of the work that this organization, that your team members are doing on the ground to make sure that we are also actively involved, participating, and voting come November 5th. So tell us a little bit about SALDEF's Sikh Vote effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Sikh Vote is one of SALDEF's initiatives that is over 10 years old, that empowers the Sikh community to not only exercise their right to vote, but also remember that it is their duty to vote. I think often we tell people every 4 years it's important to vote, but really elections happen every single year. And so we really work hard to provide the educational resources, both in Punjabi and in English, to make sure that we can reach the community where they are and make sure that the information is getting to them in the best way possible. So, of course, you know, we reach out to people online in informal groups. I know many of our community members communicate over WhatsApp, but we also go to the Gurdwara almost every single Sunday at this point. Election day is almost over 50 days away, and we are getting out in the community in over almost a dozen states throughout the United States, where our young volunteers are at the Gurdwara, speaking to their local Sangat members, partnering with the Gurdwara leadership, and ensuring that we are not only communicating when election day is and educating people on that, but actively encouraging the community to register to vote, which is so important because I'm sure you know there are so many new community members who just became naturalized this year too, and may not know that they could vote as soon as November 8th this year, or even earlier if they choose to vote early. So when we go out to the community members, we remind them, you know, voting the sadi hak hega, but sadi zimmevari bhi hega. You know, it is our duty. We must exercise it. So it's really exciting that we get to do it in both Punjabi and English.
I love that. So on the screen, once again, जिस तरह जसलीन ने कहा, SALDEF ਦੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਵੋਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਪੈਨਲ ਪੇਜ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਫਾਰਮ ਵੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। Deepak ji, if you could just go back to the forms. ਇਹ ਜੋ forms ਹਨ, Jasleen, walk us through these forms because these are really important both for people who have voted in the past and, like you said, the folks that haven't voted yet but are now officially able to because they're citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. These are both forms that are on the SALDEF website where you can check your voter registration or register to vote very easily. So very little information is needed if you want to register to vote. So these will take you to additional websites where all we need is email address and zip code first if you'd like to register to vote. And then we can take you through some of those processes where we might need your address, your full name, and other informational details about you to make sure that you are registered to vote at your home address.
Right.
And, of course, you must be a citizen in order to vote. So that's really important that you confirm your citizenship status, understand and work with your family to make sure all of your family members are registered to vote. But in some states, there are certain deadlines for that. So I know Ashmita ji had mentioned this earlier, but please check your voter registration deadlines in your state so that you can register to vote in time for the November election.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
If you'd like to check your voter registration status, there are some other, more finer details that we need. You can see that your first and last name is needed here, your date of birth, and your full address. So, of course, if you'd like to fill this out yourself or if you'd like some support from a family member to enter this online, you can do that. Or you can go to your local board of elections if you'd like a paper form as well. You can always request that.
Yeah, I mean, ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਭਾਵ ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਰੀਏ ਬਥੇਰੇ ਹੈਗੇ. I mean, and I say this, bluntly, so folks know that ਕੋਈ ਬਹਾਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਕੋਈ excuse ਨਹੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ use ਕਰਨੀ. ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ because these dates are coming up. They're coming up very soon. It's already September. I believe some of the first early voting begins. It might have already begun, in some states, but it officially begins, from what I know, next week. So, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ November 5 ਹਲੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਦੂਰ ਹੈ. As far as voting concerns and specifically voting registration goes, check your local dates. ਤੁਹਾਡੀ state ਦੀ individual dates registration ਪੱਖੋਂ check ਕਰ ਲਓ. Jasleen, is there any concern for people who may have been registered in the past, they've already voted before, but maybe they moved or maybe something changed, right? Because that can affect, like if you show up the day of to vote, you may or may not be able to, depending on the state. Every state has different laws. And so you need to check this stuff beforehand, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. In some states, you are able to register to vote the same day as election day. It's in a very small amount of states, but that is an opportunity, if that's where you live, where you can register to vote on November 8th and then go vote the same day. But for most states, that's not the case, which is why we really need you to do this as early as possible. And if your registration is maybe in a different state and you might not have the time to change your voter registration, you can request a mail ballot from your home state. You can find that information online with your state's Board of Election and have your ballot mailed to you, so then you can mail the results to your home state.
Amazing. That's such an important piece of information. ਭਾਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੀ state ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, or you're at school, or you're visiting, whatever. The point is, ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ November 5 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ registration ਹੈਗੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ, ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪ ਦੀ early voting ਦੇ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਮ ਕਰ ਲਓ, whether it's a mail-in ballot, whether you can physically go in and vote early at your polling place. ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ early find out ਕਰਕੇ plan ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ vote ਪਾਉਣ ਦਾ. That's the most important thing. Plan your vote. Jasleen, a lot of the coverage that we do recently around this election has been focused on these swing states, right? And once again, I only ask this to push our viewers once again to make sure they're involved, right? Unfortunately, the country's next president will not be decided by a popular vote, the number of people that vote for any candidate. It will be decided by a handful of counties in, you know, probably 4 to 5 states maximum, if not just Pennsylvania and 1 or 2 others, right? So खास करके साडे दर्शक जो कि swing states ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, what message can you give them about the importance of every single vote? Swing states, once again, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ states ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ vote ਕਿੰਨਾ importance, ਕਿੰਨੀ ਮਾਇਨੇ ਰੱਖਦੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ individual vote?
Every vote counts, no matter what the race is. And I want to remind people, you are not just voting for president this year. There are so many candidates who are on the ballot. It's Congress, state Senate, state assembly. Every single level of government almost is on the ballot this year. So you can not only decide for president, but there may be very close races for local elections, which usually decides a lot about what happens to your school districts, what opportunities there are for community development in your neighborhood, and even road safety and road quality. All of these very basic things are on the ballot, not just president. So even if you are not living in Wisconsin or Michigan, SALDEF will be there. We'll be reaching out to some of the swing states, but we'll also be in New Jersey and Virginia, and we'll be reaching out to you to make sure that you really take the opportunity to vote. So it's on you. This voting happens every single 4 years, but every year after that too, and we need you to go to the polls.
I love that. What an important and powerful message. And once again, Jasleen, who better to convey to our viewers the importance of these local elections, these races that, you know, don't get a lot of screen time. They don't get the flashy debates, but they actually affect you know, folks' day-to-day lives more than anything else. I'm so glad you brought that up as well. Once again, SALDEF, SALDEF.org, O-R-G, ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ Sikh vote ਵਾਲੇ ਪੇਜ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪ ਦੀ ਵੋਟਰ ਰਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਚੈੱਕ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਰਜਿਸਟਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹ ਫਾਰਮਸ ਉਸ ਪੇਜ ਤੇ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹਨ। ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਲਪ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ, ਆਫ ਕੋਰਸ SALDEF team members ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। they will help you do this because ਸਾਡਾ ਗੋਲ ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਇਸ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੋਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ hissa lan. Jasleen, such a pleasure once again. Thank you so much for your time and congratulations again. It's good to see you as part of, you know, one of the most important organizations in our community. Keep doing what you're doing and we'd love to have you back soon. Have a good rest of your evening. Sat Sri Akal.